There is a moment, so quick, so subtle, most people never notice it, when the power in a room shifts. It happens long before anyone speaks, long before introductions, long before titles and credentials begin to matter. In the first few seconds, the psychological hierarchy rearranges itself, quietly deciding who is respected, who is ignored, who is observed, and who becomes untouchable. Most people walk into a room trying to figure out where they fit, but the ones who become untouchable carry a completely different energy. They don't look for a place, they define the place. They don't search for acceptance, they assume they belong everywhere. While others shrink to match the environment, they make the environment rise to match them. This is the first and most ruthless truth. Untouchability begins before you even open your mouth. The invisible hierarchy everyone feels but no one talks about. Every room, whether it's a boardroom, a social gathering, a negotiation, or a quiet dinner, runs on an unspoken psychological hierarchy. You feel it immediately. Who observes whom? Who takes up mental space? Who others subconsciously orient around? Who enters with a need? Who enters with a presence? This hierarchy is not decided by wealth, fame, or physical size. It is decided by psychological positioning. The untouchable individual is the one who enters as if nothing in the room can elevate them or diminish them. Their internal frame is so steady that others instinctively adjust themselves in response. This is the exact moment when power begins to shift, when one person signals, deliberately or unconsciously, "I am already enough." It is a silent assertion of self that immediately separates them from everyone else. Why 99% of people lose power the second they enter? Most people destroy their own presence without even realizing it. They walk in scanning faces for validation. They wait for a cue telling them how to behave. They smile too eagerly, sit too quickly, speak too fast, explain themselves before anyone asks. Every one of these micro-behaviors sends the same signal. You are above me. I'm trying to get your approval. And once that signal is sent, it is almost impossible to undo. Because power is not only acted out in a room, it is assigned by the people inside it. If the room senses you are seeking acceptance, you'll be put at the bottom of the psychological hierarchy instantly. This is exactly why becoming untouchable begins with mastering internal posture before external behavior. The untouchable's presence, calm, measured, unbothered. When you watch someone truly untouchable walk into a space, something fascinating happens. They do not rush, they do not perform, and they do not seek. Their stillness speaks louder than anyone else's excitement. They send a different message, one that shifts the hierarchy in their favor. I do not need anything from this room, but this room may need something from me. They are not cold. They are not arrogant. They are simply rooted, grounded in themselves so firmly that external judgment has no power over them. And this is the foundation of untouchability. When you are immune to evaluation, you rise above it. Frame dominance, the silent engine of social power. The first 5 seconds of entering any room involve what psychologists call frame collision. Every person brings a worldview, a posture, a set of expectations, a level of self-regard. These collide like two bubbles touching. One frame absorbs the other. One gives way, the other remains solid. Untouchable individuals never have their frames absorbed. Their internal world is too cohesive, too steady, too self-directed. In simpler terms, they don't bend. Others bend around them. Even silence bends. Even posture bends. Even the pace of breathing bends. This is why untouchable people don't need to announce their power. The room senses it first. Why this documentary begins here. Before we explore the 7 ruthless power laws, we must understand this first principle. Untouchability is a perception created through psychology, not status. It begins with how you walk into a room. It evolves through how you hold your internal state. It solidifies when others sense they cannot influence you. Each of the 7 laws builds on this foundation. They explain exactly how untouchable individuals control the pace, control what others see, control who gets access, control their emotional availability, control the frame, control the gravitational pull they create, and control the exit. But everything starts here. The moment power shifts in a room is the moment someone arrives without needing the room at all. To understand how someone becomes untouchable in any room, we must explore the underlying psychology that governs human hierarchy. Untouchability isn't charisma, confidence, or dominance in the traditional sense. It is something far more precise, a psychological position where nothing and no one in the room has emotional leverage over you. That position creates a silent force field, one that others recognize instantly. At its core, untouchability is built on a paradox. The more you need from a room, the weaker you appear. The less you need, the more the room adjusts to you. This is the foundation of power in any social environment. Status independence, the core mechanism. In human behavior, there are two types of people: those whose sense of worth depends on external validation, those whose sense of worth is self-generated, immune to the room. The first group is always touchable. Their emotions, reactions, and identity are tied to how they are received. They are constantly scanning faces, tone, micro-expressions, and approval cues. They adapt to the room because the room has authority over them. The second group, the rare minority, has status independence. They do not enter a room to be validated. They enter with a foundation so internally stable that no expression, no silence, no dismissal, and no approval shifts their self-perception. This is why they appear untouchable. They cannot be elevated by praise, and they cannot be lowered by judgment. They stand outside the emotional marketplace that governs normal social interaction. And because human psychology is wired to revolve around stability, people instinctively orient towards someone who doesn't need the crowd. The room bends toward the one individual who seems psychologically self-sufficient. The paradox of social gravity. There is a phenomenon consistently observed in elite rooms. The person who cares the least about social approval often ends up commanding the most attention. Humans instinctively chase what is not easily obtained. When someone is entirely self-contained, uninterested in impressing, and emotionally unrattled, they create an aura of scarcity. That scarcity becomes social gravity. This is why untouchable individuals attract interest without trying. They represent something rare. A person whose internal world overrides external pressure. People lean toward them not because they demand attention, but because they radiate a calm indifference that feels powerful. In a world obsessed with reactions, the person who gives none becomes the gravitational center. Predictability versus psychological opacity. Another crucial dimension behind untouchability is unpredictability, not in behavior, but in emotional availability. Touchable people are predictable. Compliment them, they blush. Challenge them, they defend. Ignore them, they chase. Question them, they explain. Their psychology is transparent. Everyone knows where to push, how to trigger them, or how to pull them into a dynamic. Untouchable people move differently. Their reactions are controlled, minimal, sometimes non-existent. Not because they are suppressing emotions, but because no one in the room has earned the right to influence their inner state. This emotional opacity creates an unmistakable signal. You cannot read me. You cannot access me. You cannot move me. When someone cannot be read, they cannot be manipulated, evaluated, or placed in a traditional hierarchy. They sit outside it. They are an outlier, and rooms always respect outliers. The psychology of internal self-sufficiency. Most people think untouchability comes from confidence or dominance, but it actually comes from something simpler: internal self-sufficiency. There is a shift that happens when a person's identity stops being shaped by the crowd and starts being shaped by their own internal standards. When they stop competing, when they stop appealing, when they stop needing emotional confirmation. That internal shift creates external power. The room senses it immediately. They don't lean in. They don't overexpress. They don't soften themselves. They don't perform. They don't shrink. They don't rise. They remain exactly themselves, unchanged by context. This unchanging nature makes them untouchable. Because what can a room touch if you don't expose anything? Neutrality, the quiet form of dominance. Untouchable people are defined by a deep neutrality. A neutral presence is not passive, it is dominant. Neutrality tells the room, your opinions do not define me. Your reactions do not guide me. Your expectations do not shape me. Your approval is irrelevant to me. While others modulate themselves to fit the social temperature, the untouchable person maintains the same internal weather regardless of environment. This neutrality gives them the highest psychological position, a vantage point above all emotional noise. People interpreted this neutrality in different ways: maturity, wisdom, stoicism, intensity, but the effect is the same. They rise above the social field and become unreactive to it. Why this foundation matters for the 7 ruthless power laws. Everything that will follow, the 7 laws, rests on this psychological structure. You cannot control the room's pace if you are bound by its expectations. You cannot maintain strategic opacity if you crave approval. You cannot make others compete for your attention if you are seeking theirs. You cannot control the frame if you need to be accepted by it. You cannot walk away if the room defines your value. Untouchability is not the effect. It is the cause of the behaviors people read as powerful. The 7 ruthless laws simply make that internal state visible, and that is the essential truth. Untouchability is earned internally long before it is recognized externally. Before we can understand the 7 ruthless power laws that create an untouchable presence, we must confront a harder truth. Most people never become untouchable because they are exposed long before they ever try to project strength. Their psychological patterns, emotional reactions, and behavioral habits reveal everything. Every weakness, every insecurity, every need becomes visible within minutes. Untouchable people are defined by what others cannot read about them. Touchable people are defined by what others can read instantly. And people read far more than they speak. Overexposure, the first signal of low power. Most people enter a room carrying an invisible megaphone announcing their emotional state. They think they are being friendly, open, or relatable, but the room registers something entirely different. When someone is too expressive, too quick to smile, too eager to engage, too ready to explain, everything about them becomes predictable. Predictability is psychological exposure, and exposure is the opposite of untouchability. Touchable people leak cues. They reveal discomfort through fidgeting. They reveal insecurity through over-explaining. They reveal neediness through nervous laughter. They reveal anxiety through rapid speech. They reveal self-doubt through posture. In every case, the room quickly knows exactly where they fit in the hierarchy. Not because anyone is judging them intentionally, but because the human brain is designed to scan for signals of who leads and who follows. And the exposed person is always labeled a follower. The problem of emotional transparency. One of the biggest distinctions between untouchable and touchable people is emotional transparency. Touchable people wear their emotions like badges. A slight frown reveals offense. A raised eyebrow reveals insecurity. A quick head nod reveals desire for approval. A forced smile reveals tension. A defensive tone reveals fear of judgment. These emotional microsignals give the room access to your internal world. And when the room has access to your internal world, you are no longer untouchable. The untouchable individual doesn't hide emotions through force or suppression. They simply don't leak emotions into the environment. Their emotional world is contained, not displayed. This containment makes them unreadable, and unreadability is a form of power. Most people fail here because they have no internal buffer. Whatever they feel spills outward immediately, exposing them. Approval seeking, the fastest way to shrink in any room. One of the clearest signs that someone is touchable is approval-seeking behavior. Even subtle forms of it destroy presence. Approval-seeking shows up as over-nodding, excessive smiling, repeating yourself for reassurance, speaking faster to avoid silence, giving long explanations for small things, asking unnecessary questions to seem agreeable, softening statements to avoid offense. Each of these signals says the same thing. Your opinion of me determines who I am. The moment a room senses that, you lose power. Not because people are cruel, but because approval dependence signals vulnerability. And vulnerability invites pressure, judgment, or dismissal. Untouchable people do not ask for approval because they do not need it. Touchable people beg for it in every microbehavior. Predictability, the death of presence. Another reason most people become exposed is because they are predictable. Predictability allows others to map out your reactions before you even express them. If someone can predict what you'll laugh at, what will offend you, what will flatter you, what will pressure you, what you'll chase, what you'll avoid, they can psychologically maneuver around you with ease. Predictability makes you small, and smallness removes all mystery, all intrigue, all gravitas. It turns you into a known quantity, and known quantities cannot be untouchable. Untouchable people operate from an internal framework, not external triggers. Their reactions are not automatic. Their emotions are not public. Their patterns are not obvious. This makes them unmappable. Most people, meanwhile, walk around broadcasting a detailed map of their psychology through every movement. Excessive self-explanation, a quiet form of inferiority. One of the most common ways people expose themselves is through over-explanation. The moment someone explains too much, the room senses fear, uncertainty, self-consciousness, need for validation, hidden insecurity. Touchable people try to justify their choices because they assume scrutiny. Thinking they must earn acceptance, they preemptively defend themselves from imagined judgment. Untouchable people don't justify anything. Their decisions speak for themselves. Their presence is self-validating. An explanation is not a weakness. Over-explaining is. And most people do it constantly. Hyper-responsiveness, a sign of psychological fragility. Touchable individuals respond to everything around them. If someone enters, they adjust. If someone laughs, they join. If someone criticizes, they defend. If someone ignores them, they overcompensate. Their identity is reactive, not rooted. Hyper-responsiveness sends one message. You are shaped by the room, not the other way around. Untouchable people are not inert. They simply don't shift themselves based on external noise. Their responses are deliberate, not reflexive. Most people collapse under even mild social pressure because they lack an internal anchor. Why this matters for the 7 Ruthless Power Laws. Every law that follows depends on not being exposed. You cannot control a room if the room can read you. You cannot project scarcity if you respond to every stimulus. You cannot maintain emotional neutrality if your face reveals everything. You cannot hold a powerful frame if you react to weaker ones. You cannot become untouchable if people can map your weaknesses instantly. Before someone becomes powerful, they must become unreadable. Before they become unreadable, they must become internally rooted. Before they become internally rooted, they must stop leaking signals. And this is the reason most people never rise. Their entire psychology is visible before they even begin speaking. The untouchable individual is the opposite, someone whose internal world is sealed, stable, and inaccessible. That is the soil from which every power law grows. If there is one power signal that instantly separates the untouchable from the ordinary, it is pace. The way a person moves, speaks, pauses, and responds reveals more about their psychological rank than anything they say. In every room, pace becomes an unconscious declaration of hierarchy. Touchable people rush. Untouchable people never do. Because rushing, whether through speech, movement, or reaction, is always a confession of lower status. The moment someone moves too fast, they signal they are adapting to the room instead of making the room adapt to them. Untouchable individuals operate at their own internal tempo, unaffected by urgency, unaffected by pressure, unaffected by the energy of others. Their pace is an extension of their self-possession. Pace as a psychological dominance signal. Human beings instinctively associate calm, slow, and deliberate movements with control. Throughout evolution, animals that moved slowly were never prey. They were the ones who feared nothing. Fast, jittery, reactive movements suggested vulnerability. This instinct still governs social environments. When someone speaks too quickly, responds instantly, walks rapidly into a room, nods rapidly to show engagement, breaks silence immediately, fills gaps to avoid discomfort, they signal psychological subordination. Their speed shows dependency. Their rush shows need. Their urgency reveals insecurity. But someone who moves at a measured pace shows something entirely different. Internal stability, unshakable confidence, control over emotional impulses, freedom from the room's expectations. They don't move at the room's rhythm. The room moves at theirs. Why rushing exposes you immediately. Most people rush because they fear misinterpretation, judgment, or silence. They want to appear agreeable, likable, competent, or engaged. They believe speed proves value. But speed only proves one thing. You are reacting to the room's pressure. And once the room sees you react, you lose the psychological upper position. You have revealed that external forces dictate your internal state. Untouchable people have no such need. Their pace is controlled not by others, but by themselves. And this control signals that nothing in the environment has the authority to alter their tempo. Pace becomes power because it shows independence. How untouchable people use pace without trying. Watch high-status individuals across any domain: leaders, negotiators, advisors, operators. You will notice the same thing every time. They take their time. They speak slowly, with long pauses. They move without hurry. They enter a room with controlled momentum. They listen before reacting. They allow silence to stretch without fear. And the room naturally adapts to this rhythm. People match their tempo without even realizing it. Conversations slow down. Voices soften. Energy adjusts. The one who controls the pace controls the entire environment. Pace in conversation, the silent frame setter. In dialogue, pace communicates power more clearly than words. When someone waits before responding, pauses between sentences, doesn't fill silence, doesn't rush to reassure, doesn't mirror the other person's anxiety, they are silently setting the frame. Their pace tells the room, I will not be rushed. I operate from center. This forces others into their psychological space. The slower pace becomes the dominant tempo, and the person who sets that tempo becomes the gravitational center of the interaction. Touchable people, meanwhile, collapse into the pace of whoever speaks to them. They match urgency. They accelerate under pressure. They speak faster when challenged. Every adjustment they make signals deference. Untouchable people do not match. They anchor. The unspoken law beneath it all. Pace reveals who is in control of themselves. And the person in control of themselves is inevitably the person in control of the room. This is why Law 1 is the foundation of untouchable presence. Before people process your words, your accomplishments, your reputation, or your personality, they process your pace. If your pace is calm, deliberate, and unrushed, you send a silent message that everyone understands, even if they cannot articulate it. I am governed only by myself. This is the first power law because it is the first thing people feel. And the untouchable individual always begins by letting the room feel their pace before it ever hears their voice. If pace is the first signal of an untouchable presence, opacity is the second. To be untouchable in any room, you must become unreadable. Not mysterious in a theatrical way, not secretive out of fear, but strategically opaque. A person whose internal world cannot be accessed, interpreted, or exploited. Touchable people reveal too much. Untouchable people reveal almost nothing. This does not mean they hide. It means they do not leak. They do not broadcast insecurities, excitement, anxieties, motives, or vulnerabilities. They present only what they choose to present, on their terms and in their time. Everything else remains behind a curtain the room cannot pull aside. Why opacity creates power. Human beings instinctively fear and respect what they cannot read. Predictability makes people approachable. Opacity makes people untouchable. When someone cannot decipher what you feel, what you think, what you want, what motivates you, what bothers you, what pressures you, what excites you, you become a psychological anomaly. Anomalies rise above social hierarchies because hierarchies depend on information. People rank others based on read signals, confidence, insecurity, desire, approval-seeking, fear. Remove the signals, and you remove the ranking mechanism. You step outside the social grid entirely. Opacity is not about being cold or distant. It's about being controlled. You reveal only surface-level cues, polite, neutral, minimal. Nothing beneath the surface is accessible. Transparency, the enemy of untouchability. Most people accidentally expose their psychology in real time. A twitch of the eyebrow shows irritation. A forced laugh shows insecurity. A quick head turn shows eagerness. A tightened jaw shows discomfort. A raised voice shows emotional investment. A long explanation shows fear of judgment. Every reaction becomes information. Information becomes leverage. Leverage becomes vulnerability. Touchable people give the room everything it needs to evaluate and categorize them. Untouchable people give the room almost nothing. Their expressions are controlled. Their tone is even. Their reactions are measured. Their presence is unbothered. They don't suppress themselves. They simply don't offer themselves. The power of emotional containment. Opacity is rooted in one skill, emotional containment. Untouchable people do not allow emotions to spill out as social cues. Containment is not suppression. It is internal sovereignty. When something unexpected happens, they don't flinch. When someone challenges them, they don't react. When someone tries to provoke them, they don't engage. When someone tries to charm them, they don't melt. They process internally, not externally. A contained emotional world creates a barrier around your identity. No one knows where you stand, so no one knows where to push. Opacity in conversation, saying less than you think. Untouchable individuals speak with extreme precision. They say only what is necessary, nothing extra. You'll rarely hear them overshare, ramble, justify, explain themselves, reveal personal motives, reveal inner conflict, expose insecurities. Their communication style is clean, minimal, and tightly controlled. They answer questions without expanding. They speak in statements, not emotional narratives. They share facts, not interpretations. They deliver conclusions, not internal debates. Because the more you say, the more people can read you. The less you say, the more the room projects onto you. People project strength onto what they cannot see. Why opacity intensifies presence. When someone reveals nothing, others watch them more, think about them more, speculate about them more, adjust themselves more carefully, become more cautious around them, respect boundaries instinctively. The unknown amplifies presence. Opacity makes a person feel larger because imagination fills the gaps. People assume depth when they cannot see shallowness. They assume strength when they cannot see insecurity. They assume control when they cannot see emotion. This is why the most powerful individuals across history and leadership have always appeared emotionally and psychologically opaque. Not loud, not expressive, contained. The law behind it all. To be untouchable in any room, you must become a person whose inner world cannot be accessed through observation. Reveal only what you intend. Show only what serves you. Contain more than you display. Opacity is the armor that keeps your power intact. When people cannot read you, they cannot rank you. When they cannot rank you, they cannot touch you. And that is the essence of law too. In every room, attention is the true currency. It reveals who is valued, who is ignored, who is centered, and who is peripheral. Most people chase attention, straining to be noticed, included, or validated. But the untouchable individual operates by the opposite rule. They never compete for attention. They create an environment where attention competes for them. This shift is one of the clearest dividing lines between ordinary presence and untouchable presence. The moment you chase attention, you lose power. The moment attention chases you, you control the room. Why the chase destroys your value. Human beings instinctively devalue whatever seeks them and overvalue whatever remains selective. When someone tries too hard to be seen, they smile excessively, they speak loudly, they insert themselves into conversations, they overperform socially, they react quickly to avoid being forgotten. Each of these actions sends the same message. Your acknowledgement defines me. That is the psychology of a follower, not an untouchable. Attention chasing exposes insecurity. It shows dependence. It shows lack of inner authority. The untouchable individual doesn't fight for space. Their lack of chasing creates space around them. The magnetism of non-participation. Observe any room long enough and you'll notice a consistent pattern. The person who is slightly withdrawn, slightly reserved, slightly unmoved, becomes the focal point. Not the one trying to shine. Not the one performing. Not the one competing. The one who is simply self-contained. Why? Because selective availability creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. People are automatically drawn to whatever feels limited, controlled, or difficult to access. When someone remains centered and uninfluenced by the social scramble for visibility, they acquire a magnetic stillness. The room begins to watch them, not because they demand it, but because they refuse to play the game everyone else is playing. Untouchable people win attention by abstaining from the need for it. How untouchable people command attention without asking for it. They do it through presence, not performance. An untouchable person speaks only when necessary, moves with calm deliberation, maintains their own emotional tempo, offers neutral, measured expressions, does not rush to fill silence, does not force participation, does not adjust themselves to be liked. Their restraint creates curiosity. Curiosity creates intrigue. Intrigue pulls attention toward them without effort. People begin to ask, what are they thinking? Why aren't they trying? What makes them so calm? Why do they look unaffected? Attention flows toward the person who seems least dependent on it. Attention as a one-way exchange of power. The psychology is simple. Attention is given upward, not downward. We give attention to leaders, rare individuals, unpredictable personalities, people with self-possession, people who are emotionally self-sufficient. We ignore people who seek validation, people who perform to be seen, people who try too hard, people who mirror the room, people who are emotionally transparent. The untouchable individual rises because they refuse to descend into competition. Every room contains a silent battle for visibility. The untouchable simply opts out of the battle, and that makes them the most visible person there. Conversation dynamics, the power of controlled availability. Untouchable people do not give their attention freely. They give it selectively. When they listen, their attention is sharp and undivided. When they disengage, their absence is felt immediately, because selective attention becomes a reward. When someone who doesn't need to engage decides to, it feels significant. People chase what feels significant. And attention from an untouchable person always feels significant. Touchable people, on the other hand, give attention indiscriminately. They react to everyone. They respond instantly. They validate constantly. They overengage. They try to be agreeable with all. Their attention feels cheap because it is abundant. The untouchable person's attention feels valuable because it is scarce. The silent law beneath it. To become untouchable in any room, you must treat attention as something you grant, not something you seek. Never compete. Never chase. Never over-display. Let the room come to you. Let the energy lean toward you. Let curiosity build around you. When you stop positioning yourself to be noticed, you become impossible to ignore. And that is the essence of Law 3. In every room, people watch reactions more than words. They study micro-expressions, tone shifts, flickers of irritation, flashes of excitement, signs of discomfort, traces of insecurity. These tiny cues tell them who they can influence, who they can pressure, who they can provoke, and who they can emotionally shape. Touchable people react. Untouchable people do not. The ability to respond without visible emotion isn't coldness, it's power. Emotionless responses create a psychological shield around your identity. The room cannot use anything against you because there is nothing to grab onto. You become a smooth surface. Nothing sticks. Emotion is leverage. What you show, others can use. What you suppress becomes weight. What you contain becomes control. Untouchable people operate by one principle. Never let the room see what moves you. Reactiveness, the fastest path to psychological weakness. Most people expose themselves through emotional reflexes. The moment something unexpected happens, a question, a criticism, a challenge, a compliment, they display their entire psychology. Their eyes spark with surprise. Their face tightens for a moment. Their voice rises defensively. Their posture shifts. Their breaths shorten. Their tone betrays panic or eagerness. And the room learns everything. What offends them? What excites them? What validates them? What intimidates them? What destabilizes them? Reactivity gives the world a blueprint of your inner architecture. And once people can map you, they can move you. This is why touchable individuals are easily manipulated, not through force, but through emotional predictability. Emotional neutrality, the highest form of internal control. Untouchable. People do not react emotionally because they choose not to. Their neutrality is not apathy, it is discipline. When someone challenges them, they don't flare up. When someone tries to impress them, they don't melt. When someone tries to provoke them, they don't crack. When someone attempts to pressure them, they hold their ground without visible strain. Their neutrality signals one thing: internal sovereignty. They rule themselves. Their emotions are not public property. Their psychological space is private, inaccessible. This privacy creates power because the room senses that nothing external dictates their internal state. Why room dynamics shift around emotional containment. When someone responds without emotion, the energy of the room subtly shifts. Others slow down. Others watch more closely. Others become more careful with their words. Others adjust their tone. Others feel the weight of the interaction increase. Neutrality doesn't weaken presence, it intensifies it. It makes every movement more significant. It makes every word carry more gravity. It makes the person appear unshakable. Emotionless individuals become the psychological baseline of the room, the calm center around which all other energy arranges itself. Touchable people are shaped by the emotional climate. Untouchable people dictate it. The power of invisible reactions. People expect reactions. They are conditioned to look for them. When you provide none, you break the pattern. An untouchable person listens with stillness, changes expression minimally, speaks in an even tone, pauses before responding, does not respond to emotional bait, does not mirror the room's urgency. This lack of emotional display removes all leverage. People cannot pressure what they cannot provoke. They cannot intimidate what does not respond. They cannot manipulate what does not flinch. Neutrality turns every attempted push into a failed attempt. The strategic advantage of understated emotion. Contrary to popular belief, untouchable. People are not emotionless internally. They simply choose when and where to express emotion. They display emotion selectively, in private contexts or with earned trust. This selectivity creates contrast, and contrast creates power. When someone who rarely shows emotion expresses even a small reaction, it carries meaning. People notice. People pay attention. People recalibrate. But when someone expresses emotion constantly, their emotional shifts mean nothing. The untouchable individual preserves emotional meaning by preserving emotional scarcity. The law behind it. To be untouchable in any room, you must eliminate reactive cues. Never give your emotional map away. Never reveal your internal state through reflex. Never let others know what gets to you. The person who reacts the least is the person who can be moved the least. And the person who can be moved the least becomes the psychological apex of the room. This is the essence of Law 4. Untouchable people are defined not just by what they project, but by what and whom they allow into their world. Their power does not come from isolation, nor from popularity, but from controlled access. They move through rooms with an unmistakable signal. Not everyone gets to reach me. This controlled access creates a social fortress, an invisible structure that surrounds their presence. It doesn't keep people out, it simply filters them. Only those who earn access receive it. Everyone else meets the outer walls. Touchable people do the opposite. They are available to everyone, accessible to anyone, emotionally open to all. Their boundaries are soft, permeable, undefined. This abundance makes them common. The untouchable person becomes rare through selective availability. The power of scarcity in social dynamics. Humans instinctively value what is limited. The less someone's time, attention, or emotional presence is available, the more desirable and respected it becomes. This is true in economics, psychology, relationships, leadership, every domain. Touchable people undermine their own worth by offering themselves without discrimination, responding instantly, oversharing quickly, accepting any social invitation, saying yes to everything, giving attention to everyone, letting others interrupt or intrude, allowing random people to influence their mood. Their openness dilutes their presence. Their accessibility makes them ordinary. Untouchable individuals do not operate on openness. They operate on scarcity, not artificial scarcity, controlled scarcity. They decide who enters. They decide when. They decide how much. They decide how far. This control communicates value far louder than words. Controlled availability, the signature behavior of the untouchable. The untouchable individual is not aloof. They are selective. They may speak warmly, but not often. They may be friendly, but not intimate with everyone. They may be social, but not emotionally open. They may engage, but not consistently. Their presence is felt, but not possessed. Their attention is given, but not demanded. Their time is offered, but not assumed. This selectivity makes others recognize that access to them is not a right. It is a privilege, and privileges elevate status. Boundary management, the quiet structure behind power. Untouchable people maintain boundaries without announcing them. They don't explain their limits, they demonstrate them. They end conversations when they choose, walk away at their pace, ignore noise, decline invitations with ease, give short responses when uninterested, protect their private life, refuse emotional infiltration, choose their circle deliberately. Their boundaries are not defensive walls. They are intentional filters. This filtering creates an aura. If I give you access, it means something. Touchable people have no such filtering. Their lack of boundaries makes them emotionally and socially exposed. The psychology of controlled access. People instinctively measure value by difficulty of access. This is not manipulation. It is human nature. The more selective someone is, the more people respect them. The more people try to impress them. The more people self-regulate around them. The more people elevate their behavior. The more people seek their approval. Because access becomes a reward. Untouchable people create this reward structure without trying. Their internal world is not open territory. Their time is not free currency. Their attention is not universally distributed. Others sense this and treat them accordingly. Why the social fortress makes you untouchable. When your access is limited, a powerful shift happens. The room begins to approach you instead of you approaching the room. People become careful with their words. People avoid overstepping. People self-adjust to remain in your good graces. People compete for the smallest amount of your time. People work harder to maintain your interest. Not because you demand it, because your fortress makes them value it. Touchable people adapt to others. Untouchable people make others adapt to them. The law beneath it. To become untouchable in any room, you must treat your time, attention, and emotional space as limited resources. Not everyone gets in. Not everything deserves a response. Not all energy is allowed to reach you. Not all people earn proximity. Scarcity creates value. Controlled access creates presence. Boundaries create psychological altitude. This is why untouchable individuals always feel above the noise. Their fortress keeps the noise out. And that is the essence of Law 5. Every room operates within a frame, a silent, shared understanding of what is normal, what is acceptable, what is relevant, and what is true in that moment. Most people step into that frame and conform. They adjust their behavior, tone, posture, confidence, and energy to match the environment. Untouchable people do the opposite. They walk in carrying a frame so strong, so stable, so rooted in their internal world that the room itself begins to shift around them. They do not adopt the environment's rules. They impose their own. This ability, to hold a frame so deeply that it silently overrides the existing one, is one of the most defining characteristics of untouchable presence. When someone's internal reality is stronger than the external environment, their reality becomes the dominant one. What is a frame? The invisible reality everyone buys into. A frame is the psychological lens through which an interaction is defined. Who leads the conversation? Who follows? What is important? What is trivial? What is acceptable? What is unacceptable? What the tone of the room should be? What everyone is subconsciously aligning to. Frames are invisible, yet they control everything. Touchable people accept the frame handed to them. Untouchable people establish their own frame the moment they enter. This is why they feel different, because they are not shaped by the room's reality. They shape the room's reality. The weak frame, constant adjustment. Most people hold weak frames. They shift based on social pressure, expectations, dominant personalities, approval cues, group dynamics, tone changes, emotional temperature in the room. Their reality bends quickly. Their tone shifts. Their confidence fluctuates. Their conversational direction collapses. Their body language adjusts automatically. They are tuning forks, vibrating according to the room. The untouchable is the opposite. They make the room tune itself to them. The strong frame, steady, unmoved, self-defined. Holding a strong frame means having a mental and emotional position that does not shift in response to external forces. A strong frame is internally generated, stable regardless of context, slow to change, rooted in self-belief, detached from approval, indifferent to pressure, resistant to emotional noise. People sense this immediately. A strong frame feels dense, heavy, grounded, immovable. Others instinctively adjust their own behavior around it. This isn't force. This isn't dominance. This is psychological. Gravity. The strongest frame absorbs weaker frames. The untouchable always holds the strongest frame. How strong frames rewrite the room. When someone with a dominant frame enters a space, interactions begin to shift. The room adopts their tempo. Conversations align with their rhythm. People mirror their calm. Tone softens or sharpens to match them. The emotional temperature resets to their setting. Others defer to their interpretation of events. Their silence becomes more significant than others' words. A strong frame doesn't need explanation. It doesn't need argument. It doesn't need performance. It simply exists, and everything else must adjust around it. Touchable people collapse into other people's frames. Untouchable people make others step into theirs. Conversation, the battle of frames. All conversations are frame contests, even when friendly. Who sets the meaning? Who sets the tone? Who defines what matters? Who dictates the pace? Who decides what is funny, serious, relevant, or irrelevant? Touchable people surrender these decisions. Untouchable people take them silently. They aren't loud. They aren't argumentative. They aren't forceful. They just respond from their own reality and refuse to enter another. Someone tries to provoke? They don't bite. Someone tries to dictate pressure? They stay calm. Someone tries to set urgency? They move at their own pace. Someone tries to define the tone? They maintain their neutrality. Their internal world is stronger than the external one. That is why they win. Why this law creates untouchability. A person whose frame cannot be broken cannot be controlled. A person whose reality cannot be overwritten cannot be intimidated. A person whose inner world remains stable regardless of environment becomes psychologically superior. Rooms respect stability. People respect certainty. Groups respect groundedness. The untouchable person creates an invisible center of gravity, not by asserting dominance, but by refusing to surrender their internal position. Their frame becomes the room's frame. Their pace becomes the room's pace. Their emotional tone becomes everyone's baseline. Holding a strong internal frame doesn't just make you influential, it makes you untouchable. And that is the essence of Law 6. Nothing reveals power more clearly than the person who can walk away first. In every room, in every interaction, in every social dynamic, there is an unspoken tension. Who needs this moment more? Touchable people cling. Untouchable people exit. Walking away is not dramatic. It's not emotional. It's not reactive. It is simply the clearest signal of independence. The demonstration that nothing in the room defines you, anchors you, or holds authority over you. Untouchability is not about dominating others. It is about having zero dependency on the environment. And nothing communicates that more powerfully than the ease with which someone can leave. Why the ability to walk away is psychological power. When you can walk away first, a silent message is sent. I am not attached to your approval. I do not require your acceptance. I don't need this conversation, this group, or this outcome. My value remains intact with or without this moment. This is the highest form of social self-possession. People sense it immediately. A person who can leave willingly holds all the leverage because they show that the room has no control over them. Touchable individuals can't leave. They stay longer than they should, explain more than necessary, invest more than required. Their presence is tied to fear. Fear of missing out, of being forgotten, of disappointing others, of losing access. Untouchable individuals have none of that fear, and that is why they rise above the room. They are not held by it. Clinging energy versus independent energy. Most people don't realize how much their presence communicates neediness. They linger, signal interest too clearly, and stay emotionally invested even when the moment no longer serves them. Clinging energy says, I need this. Independent energy says, this does not define me. Clinging makes you small. Independence makes you untouchable. When someone can end an interaction without hesitation, people respect them. People remember them. People feel their absence. People adjust their behavior around them. People become more careful with their access. People want more from them. Why? Because the human mind instinctively values whatever is capable of leaving. Walking away as a social calibration tool. Untouchable people don't walk away to punish. They walk away to preserve their internal standards. They leave conversations that dilute their energy, groups that don't align with their values, dynamics that feel chaotic or low quality, situations where they are not respected, interactions that attempt to pull them downward, moments where emotional pressure is used against them. They don't announce it. They don't explain it. They simply exit. Their departure shifts the energy. The room feels the imbalance. People register the loss. Because departure is a statement, not about others, but about the strength of one's own self-governance. The subtle art of leaving without leaving abruptly. An untouchable person's exit is never impulsive. It is smooth, calm, and natural. They don't storm out. They don't announce boundaries. They don't try to make a point. They simply withdraw their energy. A step back, a slowed response, a natural conclusion, a gentle disengagement, a redirect of attention, a quiet exit. They do it without breaking rhythm, without drama, without friction. This is what makes it powerful. Touchable people flinch when disengaging. Untouchable people treat disengagement like breathing. It is normal for them, because they are never anchored to the environment in the first place. Why this law makes you untouchable? Dependence is the root of all insecurity. Independence is the root of untouchability. The moment you can walk away first. You cannot be controlled. You cannot be coerced. You cannot be persuaded through pressure. You cannot be intimidated. You cannot be emotionally cornered. You cannot be psychologically accessed in ways you don't choose. Walking away is the ultimate power signal because it shows that staying is a choice, never a necessity. Touchable people are defined by what they cling to. Untouchable people are defined by what they can release. The person who can leave at will is the one who stands above the room. The room does not hold them. They hold themselves. This is the essence of Law 7. When someone in a room carries untouchable energy, you feel it immediately. The atmosphere shifts. People adjust. Conversations bend. Tempo changes. Attention reorganizes itself. Most believe this shift happens naturally, but it never does. It happens because someone is actively, whether consciously or instinctively, using the very laws we've discussed. To recognize an untouchable presence, you must learn to see the signals, not to counter them or imitate them, but to understand the psychology behind the individuals who alter the gravitational field of a room simply by being in it. Some people do this effortlessly. Some do it strategically. Either way, the signs are unmistakable once you know where to look. Sign 1. They move slower than the room. A person who controls their pace controls the room. This is always the first giveaway. They are never rushing, never flinching, never adjusting their tempo to match others. Instead, others match them. You'll notice conversations slowing down around them. Voices soften. People lean in. Silence stretches. Their energy becomes the metronome of the environment. This is Law 1 in its purest form appearing right in front of you. When you see someone whose pace remains unchanged regardless of pressure, they are anchoring themselves as the psychological center of the space. Sign 2. You can't read what they feel. Some individuals walk into a room with a face that functions like a mask, calm, measured, unbothered. You may interact with them, but you can't quite tell whether they approve, whether they disapprove, whether they're impressed, whether they're bored, whether they're analyzing, whether they're indifferent. This unreadability is never accidental. It's strategic opacity. When someone reveals very little, they remove the mental handholds that normally allow people to size them up. You cannot place them in a hierarchy because they offer no signals to classify. You stand before them with questions instead of conclusions. That is the sign of someone using Law 2. Sign 3. Their attention feels like a reward. Some people speak rarely, but when they do, everyone pays attention. Some listen quietly, but when they finally engage, the entire dynamic lifts. Some stand slightly apart, yet their presence dominates more than those in the center. You'll notice that they never chase engagement. They don't compete to be seen. They don't insert themselves. People adjust toward them. When their eyes land on someone, that person feels singled out. When they show interest, others perceive it as significant. When they disengage, others feel the loss. This is Law 3 in motion. Attention as value, not currency. Sign 4. Their reactions are minimal or non-existent. One of the clearest signals that someone is operating from untouchable psychology is the absence of emotional reflexes. They don't flinch at surprises, rise to provocations, soften under praise, justify under scrutiny, mirror the room's emotions, reveal internal tension. Their face remains neutral. Their voice stays even. Their posture doesn't shift. This emotional stillness creates a barrier, not a wall, just a boundary the room cannot cross. People who display no visible emotional response are not disengaged, they are controlled. And that control is Law 4. Sign 5. Their availability is limited and selective. You'll notice that untouchable individuals rarely linger without purpose. Their presence is never continuous. They appear when they choose, engage, on their terms, and withdraw when they decide. They are selective about who approaches them, who they speak to, how long they stay, where they sit, what conversations they join, whom they allow into proximity. People often describe them as hard to reach or not easily accessible. This is not arrogance, it is filtration. You are seeing Law 5, controlled access, expressed through behavior. Sign 6. Their inner world does not bend to the room. You will recognize someone with a dominant internal frame when you notice that the environment does not influence them, but they influence the environment. Examples appear subtly. The tone of the room shifts to match theirs. Conversations move in their direction. Others take on their level of calm. Their interpretations of events shape group perception. Their energy overrides louder personalities. They don't push their frame on others. They simply refuse to enter anyone else's frame. This quiet firmness is Law 6, a frame so strong it becomes the room's default reality. Sign 7. They can leave without hesitation. The final sign is the hardest to miss. They are not bound to the moment. They can end interactions naturally, leave conversations without friction, disengage without apology, exit rooms without fear, move on without emotional residue. Their willingness to walk away does not feel dramatic. It feels effortless. This is Law 7, the law that elevates all the others. The one who can exit is the one who cannot be controlled. The pattern they all share. When someone uses these laws, the effect is unmistakable. They feel steady. They feel outside the social tug-of-war. They feel emotionally sealed. They feel internally sufficient. They feel above the noise. They feel like the gravity of the room bends toward them. Not because they assert themselves, but because their internal world is stronger than the external one. This is the mark of the untouchable. Untouchability is often misunderstood. People imagine it as charisma, dominance, authority, or superiority, something granted by status, wealth, or external achievement. But throughout this entire exploration, one truth has become unmistakably clear. Untouchability is not a social rank. It is a psychological position. A position that exists entirely within a person's internal world before it ever appears in their external behavior. A position that does not depend on who is in the room, what is happening around them, or how others perceive them. Untouchability is the state of being unaffected, unpressured, and unclaimed by the environment. It is the refusal, silent, calm, complete, to let the room define you. And because so few people can hold this position, those who do instantly rise above the noise. The illusion of external power. Most people chase untouchability through external means. Trying to impress, trying to be liked, trying to look confident, trying to fit the environment, trying to gain approval, trying to be socially dominant. But these attempts only reveal neediness. The harder someone tries to appear untouchable, the more touchable they become. The truth is simple. Untouchability cannot be performed. It can only be inhabited. It begins with the internal world long before it is ever visible on the outside. The silent nature of true power. Throughout this documentary, each of the 7 ruthless laws has pointed to the same underlying mechanism: internal sovereignty, controlling your pace, revealing nothing unnecessary, never competing for attention, responding without emotional reflex, controlling access to yourself, holding a dominant internal frame, being able to walk away with ease. These are not external techniques. They are expressions of an internal foundation, and that foundation is what makes untouchability real. An untouchable person is not above others. They are above pressure. Not detached from people, they are detached from dependency. Not uninterested in connection, they are uninterested in approval. Their value does not rise or fall based on perception. Their self-concept does not bend based on environment. Their presence does not shrink or inflate based on reaction. They remain themselves, unchanged. Rooms respect those who cannot be moved. People instinctively sense internal stability. It draws them in, grounds them, and sometimes intimidates them. Why? Because most individuals do not possess their own center of gravity. They borrow it from the environment. They fluctuate with tone, tension, attention, approval. When someone enters a room who does not fluctuate, something powerful happens. The environment organizes around them. Conversations follow their rhythm. Energy adopts their neutrality. People regulate themselves in their presence. The chaotic becomes orderly. The loud becomes balanced. The uncertain becomes quiet. This shift is not caused by force. It is caused by psychological altitude. The untouchable person sits higher, not socially, but internally, the invisible position above the room. Imagine a room as a field of signals, approval cues, emotional reactions, micro-expressions, social contests, hierarchies, tone changes, expectations. Touchable people are swept into that field, reacting and adjusting with every shift. Untouchable people stand above the field, watching it, understanding it, unaffected by it. This vantage point is what gives them power, not because they control others, but because they are not controlled by anything around them. To be untouchable is to hold a psychological position that cannot be altered by social friction. The paradox that defines the untouchable. The final truth of untouchability is this paradox. The less you adapt to the room, the more the room adapts to you. Not through aggression, not through attention-seeking, not through performance, but through a steady, silent expression of self-possession so complete that others cannot help but adjust around it. Untouchability is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not theatrical. It is not ego-driven. It is calm, grounded, consistent. It is the natural result of refusing to hand your identity over to the environment. What it ultimately means to be untouchable. Being untouchable means your emotions are not dictated by others. Your pace is set from within. Your presence does not shrink under attention. Your identity is not traded for approval. Your boundaries are not negotiable. Your frame is not overwritten. Your value is not externally assigned. It means you do not enter rooms to seek anything. Not validation, not recognition, not acceptance. You enter as someone who already possesses themselves. And in a world built on reaction, insecurity, and emotional exposure, someone who remains whole becomes more than calm. They become untouchable. The final image. Untouchability is not about standing above people. It is about standing above the forces that move most people. Fear, urgency, validation, emotional reactivity, social gravity, approval, attachment. When these forces can no longer reach you, the room no longer has power over you. You have power over yourself. And that is the final truth. Untouchability is not something you perform. It is something you become.